of June 2021. Fire alarm procedures. If the fire alarm is activated, vacate the offices via the stairs. Please do not use the lifts. Assemble in Hawley Square on the Green. Officers will assist you and advise when it is deemed safe to return to the chamber. Please switch off or turn to silent your mobile phones and do not make or receive calls whilst the meeting is in progress. Please note this meeting is being live streamed for members of the public. The meeting will also be recorded and will subsequently broadcast on the internet. Does anyone intend to film the meeting? No? The following members have asked to speak under Council Procedure Rule 20.1. Item 4, Councillor Austin. Item 6, Councillor Bailey, Councillor Garner. Item 7, Councillor Everett. Does anyone else wish to speak under 20.1?
Yes, please, yeah. Item 6.
Thank you, Councillor Orban. Item 6. Are there any other members? Are there any apologies for absence? No apologies for absence. Does anyone have any interest to declare in the items of business on the agenda this evening? No. Minutes of previous meeting. To approve the summary of recommendations and decisions of the Cabinet meeting held on the 29th of April 2021. Copy is attached to the agenda pack. As this is the first ordinary meeting for this Cabinet, I propose that these minutes are taken as read since they are for the meeting that was held under a different Cabinet. Do I have a seconder? Seconder, Councillor Saunders. Do members agree? Item 4, evaluation of retention or disposal options for 18 Albert Street, Ramsgate. To introduce Councillor Bayford.
Thank you, Chair. 18 Albert Street is a Grade 2 listed building. It was previously occupied as a shared ownership property with the council owning a share. The previous occupants, who own the remaining share, were responsible under the terms of the sharing arrangement for the maintenance of the building. The property is in very poor condition, as detailed in the report, with high estimated costs of refurbishment. The property is also poorly laid out, with accommodation over 3 floors, connected by a narrow and winding staircase. The kitchen and bathroom are extremely small, and there is no outside amenity space. For these reasons, it is not considered suitable for retention as part of the council's rented housing stock. There is a specific requirement on the council to ensure that any disposal of vacant dwellings are at market value. It is therefore recommended that the council test the market by disposing of the property at auction. I move the recommendations in the report.
Thank you, Councillor Bayford. Speakers under 20.1, Councillor Austin.
Thank you, Chair. I'm speaking on behalf of the 3 Central Harbour councillors and groups within the community who we've talked to, and we would like to propose that this decision be postponed for a period of at least 3 months. We quite see the difficulty with this property as rental housing, but we do think that in view of its Grade 2 listed status and the fact that it is so close to the Addington Street area, which for people who aren't familiar with Ramsgate is effectively becoming Ramsgate's old town, it's an area that is becoming increasingly popular. It's an area that has huge potential for the development of cultural facilities. And in the light of the Ramsgate Future work that's going on and the consultation that's happening in the community, we think there's a possibility that something could be made of this building as a cultural asset, as a community asset, as something that will generate income for the council, and that funding may be able to be brought in externally to refurbish this potentially beautiful building back to the state that it was in, it could be a real benefit to Ramsgate as a tourist attraction and as a community asset. We are concerned that if the property is sold, we have a lot of negative experience in Ramsgate of land banking, so we're very concerned that the property might just be left to rot. And we would ask, therefore, for a stay of execution on this building, ideally for 6 months, but if Cabinet is not amenable to that, then for 3 months, while we discuss with the external funding team and Historic England whether this may be a possibility to do something with as a community asset. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Austin. The disposal receipt could be used to support the development of new affordable homes in a more cost-effective way. Disposal will allow a potential new owner to refurbish the building and bring it back into use with the potential to restore the historic shopfront on the ground floor. We will be happy to see any local people at businesses interested in bringing the building back into use, having the opportunity to acquire the building at auction. This process was also satisfy the requirement of the council for disposal to be at market value. Bob, perhaps you'd like to add something to that? Sorry.
Thank you, Councillor Bayford. I think the one thing I would add to that is that any delay is likely to see further deterioration in the building, and I think that is potentially problematic with what you're suggesting.
No.
So, Councillor Bayford, would you like to move?
Yes, I move the...
Do I have a seconder? Are Cabinet agreed on the recommendations? Item 5, representation on executive appointed outside bodies for 21-22, to which I will introduce. The Cabinet is being asked to agree the list of the following nominations for the executive related outside bodies as shown as Annex 1 of the report. British Ports Association, Councillor Ashby. British Resorts Association, AGM Conference and Executive Meetings, Councillor Pugh. Community Safety Partnership, Councillor Cupp. Domestic Violence Forum, Councillor Cupp and Councillor Jill Bayford. East Kent Opportunities Limited, Councillor Ashby. East Kent Spatial Development Company, Councillor Robert Bayford. Kent's Police and Crime Panel, Councillor Cupp. Local Government Association Coastal Special Interest Group, Councillor Pugh. LGA District Council Network, Councillor Ashby. LGA General Assembly, Councillor Ashby. LGA Strategic Aviation Specialist Interest Group, Councillor Ashby. Margate Town Partnership. This item has been replaced by the Margate Town team, which does not have a member representation, therefore it has been removed from the list. South East Council, England Councils, Councillor Ashby. Supporting People in Kent Commissioning Body, Councillor Cupp. Thanet Harbour User Groups, Councillor Ashby and Councillor Pugh. Thanet Quality Bus Partnership, Councillor Linda Wright. Tourism South East, Councillor Pugh. Your Leisure Thanet Subgroup, Councillor Ashby and Councillor Pugh. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Cupp, thank you. Do members agree? Thank you. I move on now to item 6, Coastal Lift Current Position. To introduce Councillor Bob Bayford.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. This update was requested by the previous administration to understand the issues regarding the Viking Bay and Ramsgate lifts. Following a review of the work required, it was agreed that the work to ensure Viking Bay lift is operational for this summer would be undertaken, that at a cost of £17,400, and that this is allocated from the Council's Brexit Fund, which was provided by Government. The work is due to be completed at the beginning of July. There has been a delay due to bespoke new parts having to be made. On the completion of this work, the lift will be operational. There will also be a new emergency response and attendance procedure to ensure that if there are any problems, then these can be fixed as soon as possible, including the release of trapped passengers. The lift is over 20 years old, and to bring it up to modern day standards, a further investment of £45,000 would be required. This would basically replace all the major components, and whilst this would give the lift more longevity, no budget at the present time has been allocated for this work. Ramsgate lift is more problematic due to the theft of lead from the roof. £48,000 of work has already been undertaken, and it is anticipated that a further £20,000 will be required to get the lift operational. However, this will be subject to a structural survey that has only just been completed to see if there is more structural damage than first anticipated. Therefore, until we have a better understanding of the condition and work required, no further budget has been allocated. I'll ask Thanet to note the report, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Bayford. Speakers under 20.1, Councillor Bailey.
Thank you, Chair. And good evening, everyone. First of all, I just want to say how pleased I am that the effort is being made to get the Viking Bay lift opened for this summer. For those who are dependent on using this lift, though, it was very disappointing to hear that the date for the reopening has been set back again, particularly as they were only told a fortnight ago that it would be opening as of next week. I appreciate the difficulties of having to wait for parts to be sourced and especially manufactured, particularly in these COVID-hit times. But when goalposts keep being moved, it has the effect of undermining trust and confidence. I'm glad that improved measures, including a dedicated manager, have been put in place to manage the daily operation of the lift, and I really hope that it will continue to be regularly maintained and monitored out of season 2. I would like to know what assurance can be given tonight that the lift will in fact be ready to open on the revised date, that is the beginning of July, and I'd also be very interested in knowing more about the longer term options for upgrading the lift to make it compliant. The report stipulates that the current repairs are only expected to see us through this year, so what about next year and the ensuing years? Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, thank you, Councillor Bailey. Obviously agree with you totally about the importance of the lift to the residents of Broadstairs, and it is very frustrating that deadlines have been missed, but it's totally beyond the control of this council. I mean, there's no pleasure in this council missing a deadline and getting the inevitable flack that comes its way. You know, it's circumstance that's put us there. As far as going forward is concerned, as I said in my little speech, there's a further investment of £45,000 which will be required to make the lift serviceable, and it's thought that that cost could possibly be for up to 5 years, but we've got to look into that a little bit further, but it is being reviewed at the moment.
Thank you. Do you move this to... Oh. Sorry, Councillor Garner, too much of a hurry there. Councillor Garner. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Leader. I echo a lot of what Councillor Bailey has said, and I might echo it in my little spiel. But as you're no doubt aware, especially the 3 Broadstairs-based Cabinet members, as Councillor Bailey said, there is disappointment in the town that the promised opening of the lift has been delayed. And I can understand the reasons for that, but I'm dismayed that expectations weren't managed properly in the first place. The report states that the current repairs will only ensure that the Viking Bay lift is operational for the remainder of the summer season, and leaves the question of the lift's future unanswered. I think the question needs to be addressed urgently. A recent council website statement said that a long-term strategy for both lifts will be formulated to consider their future. As this report does not address this, I have a couple of questions. When will this long-term strategy be considered and agreed? And does the new administration agree with me that Thanet beaches should be accessible to all residents and visitors, and will they confirm that they will work towards providing and maintaining a permanent all year round solution for all the lifts? Thank you.
Okay, I'll ask Mr. Waitman to comment on that, but I mean, I think that, again, I've already said that, we're disappointed as anybody that we've missed the deadline. Can't keep saying that. The TDC didn't want that to happen, but it just did. And as far as managing expectations, I mean, people were told what we thought was the case, and then as soon as different was known, then people were informed. I also have said that we're looking right now at the future. We're considering this £45,000, but it will be irresponsible of me to say right now on the hoof that we're going to make that available, because it's not budgeted for. That money would have to be found, and all I can do is to assure you that we are taking the business of the lift seriously, and we're looking at them. I'm not sure when you say all Thanet beaches to be totally accessible to everybody. I'm not sure that's a promise that anybody could make. So I'm not prepared to make that one, but I don't know if Mr. Waite, you want to add anything to it?
I'd just say that in terms of operation 365 days a year might be a bit of an issue, but for us as officers is we're gaining all the information we can in terms of what work's required, the cost of that work for both lifts, and obviously we'll present that to Cabinet, and Cabinet can then make that decision. But we are working on in terms of the replacement parts, you need to appreciate that the cost of some of the goods has significantly increased, and actually the fact that they've had to make these goods from scratch, or they've actually had to take the old ones out and actually manufacture new ones, that's what's taken a bit of time. So hopefully, and I'm still pushing that the lift will be open in the first week of July, and definitely by the start of school holidays.
Thank you, Gavin. To speak under 21.1, Councillor Orban.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm not going to go over what my two colleagues behind me have said, but what I was saying in regards to the Broadstairs lift, of course we're all sorry it's put back. You know, none of we would have liked it to be open on the date that it was said. But I take what Mr. Waits just said in relation to the bespoke machinery parts that are required, and they're not easy. But I think what residents got to take from that is that hopefully the Broadstairs lift will be open for the rest of the season. However, the Ramsgate lift is really what I'm concerned about, because one, as a ward councillor, and two, is shadowing Councillor Bayford. It is extremely disappointing that it's unlikely to be available for 2021. The residents of Ramsgate are really clear that it's a necessary thing for all people, not just disabled people, for families to be able to use prams, get prams down, etc., etc. What I'd like to ask is, just for some clarification, can I ask please if the insurance claim, the 48,000 insurance claim, was that just for the repair of the roof once the lid was nicked? Was it just for the replacement of that? And if so, can we not go back to the insurance company, because obviously when the roof was off, the water damage that was the ingress into the building itself and into the machinery, surely that now we've had a look at that, can we then find that if that is the case, can we then go back and reclaim, so the council can then get some money for that from the insurance company? The other thing is, within the report, it mentions the first floor doors that need replacing. You've just mentioned, Councillor Bayford, about any other structural issues. So I think that's obviously very, very important that we get, whether it is the actual, not the internal workings of the lift, but the structure of the building itself is damaged. So I think that's very important, and that needs to be done as soon as possible, so that we can get that. So can I ask that is done as quickly as possible, so that the residents of Ramsgate can then know exactly what the issues are, and for that to be put out to them, because that helps us as ward councillors to be able to do that. So just one of those questions, Chair, if I could get an answer to those, I'd be pleased. Thank you.
Yeah, Councillor Orban, I think Mr Waite will be best placed to answer those, but I mean, I think it's fairly clear that at the moment it's a bit of an unknown quantity, and at the moment I'm blaming you. Gary.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the damage, was that the lead was taken off, we had water ingress and they fixed it. So I'll get the detail of that to you. Like I say, is they've done the structural survey and they've done some work to see if we can actually get the lift operational. Because if the lift is working, we've just got issues, particularly at the bottom where the doors aren't opening. And once we get an indication of what work's required, we'll obviously, and the estimate is 20,000, but I would say that 20,000 has not been allocated. It's just an assumption based on what the lift tech have told us. But we should have that sort of early next week, and I can let you have details of that in the town council as well.
Thank you. Yeah, fine. Thank you for your comments, Mr. Orban. We have duly noted. Would you like to move the proposal, the recommendations? The Cabinet has been asked to note the report.
Just that, ask Cabinet to note the report, Chair.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Pugh. Okay. Do members agree? Item 7, Margate Digital Levelling Up Fund bid. To introduce, Councillor Pugh.
Thank you, Chair. As identified by the leader last week, we really do appreciate the opportunity made available to us by central government to be a priority one area for the Levelling Up Fund. This report highlights a second opportunity that Thanet has to bid for the funding for Margate Digital, a cutting-edge, industry-relevant training space which aims to influence creative thinking and technology, inspire people and provide industry-ready candidates. The centre aims to deliver inward investment, raise aspirations, provide opportunities for retraining and support SMEs in the sector. East Kent College Group proposes to deliver more than 200 learners in the first year who will be primarily aged between 16 to 19. The proposal aligns with the Margate Town deal, which we heard about at last week's meeting, and will support the regeneration and repurpose of Margate High Street. We are supportive of the bid, and it has the full backing of the MP for Thanet North, Sir Roger Gow. In Thanet, we have been lucky enough to have more than one opportunity to bid to this fund, with 2 MP constituency areas in the district. I would like to recommend that 1, we approve submission of a Levelling Up bid to the 18th of June 2021 deadline. 2, we delegate authority to the Chief Executive and the leader for final sign-off of the Levelling Up bid. And 3, the Council will not make a financial contribution in any form within the 10% financial contribution encouraged in the prospectus, and this will be contributed by East Kent College Group. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pugh. Speaker under 20.1, Councillor Everett.
Thank you, Leader. I'm sure you'd be disappointed if I had nothing to say about this. I want to say at the outset that I'm fully supportive of the Margate Digital project. All such investment in Thanet is a good thing, and this is an exciting initiative. Labour councillors represent the most deprived areas of Margate, and we want to see them regenerated with more opportunities for local people. I do, however, have serious concerns about this bid. It is simply not acceptable that the Cabinet paper was published 24 hours before this meeting, when the bid itself has to be submitted on Friday. That is the opposite of transparency, not just from the members' perspective, but also from the public's. It's not a very good start for this administration. I do recognise, of course, the heavy workload placed on the Director of Regeneration by the Ramsgate Levelling Up bid. Indeed, that is one reason the Labour administration did not support the second bid, because we knew there was no capacity to deliver it properly. The report itself is substantially based on the one the Council received last week for Ramsgate. It's not at all clear what information could have been outstanding to delay its publication. Unless I've missed it, it doesn't even set out how much the bid is for, I don't think Councillor Pugh said how much it was for either. I think the council ought to be told that in a formal setting, but of course this isn't really the council's bid at all. It's very much a case of his master's voice, or perhaps in this case, her master's. And if we hadn't known that, it's made clear at 4.2 that this is a proposal from the MP. Now, I don't have any problem with Sir Roger Gale over that. He's entitled to lobby for his constituency, that's his job. But it is the council's job to balance the risks and opportunities for the whole district, not to take instructions from one MP or the other. The MP is supposed to be consulted, but not to the exclusion of everybody else. This bid is a clear and obvious risk to the Ramsgate levelling up bid. And we know that because the Director of Regeneration told Cabinet in her report last week that the funding overall is likely to be oversubscribed and the best option was to focus on one bid. Cabinet clearly hasn't taken that advice. It won't wash, I'm afraid, to argue that the competition between bids for Ramsgate and Margate is no different from the competition between Ramsgate and Dover, or Derby, or Darlington. We all know that once Margate got a town deal, Ramsgate was never going to get one. It would be beyond naive to think that the Conservative Cabinet is not creating a risk that the government will say, thank you very much, we'll take the cheaper option for Margate and that's Thanet done, whatever assurances they give. This isn't a government whose word is its bond. Alternatively, we might see some money taken away from Ramsgate to give to the Margate bid. And that will be tragic because the Ramsgate bid is first class. This is an occasion when I hope that I'm wrong, I really do, because I want to see as much money coming to Thanet as possible. But if what I think happens does happen, it will be the fault of a Conservative Cabinet, a Conservative MP and a Conservative government, not the officers and not the council as a whole. I will be angry about that, but more importantly, Ramsgate will be angry and Ramsgate will not forget. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Overt, for your questions and point. It was funny, as you were giving your speech or your comments, I kind of had in my mind the fact that we have a Conservative administration, we have Conservative MPs, and we have a Conservative government, but you laid it out for me, so thank you for that. I mean, I think it goes without saying that all of the bids will be first class. Of course, we have fantastic officers that work incredibly hard, and they continue to do so. To accuse this Cabinet and this administration of not focusing its efforts, I think is a bit disingenuous, but at the same time, I wouldn't expect anything less. I mean, to be honest, there's not really much else to say apart from that, although I note your concerns, I think that this is an opportunity that we'd be mad to ignore, we'd be mad to turn down, and I think that actually it's something that we should put all of our support behind. But of course, I'll defer to officers if they have anything else to add.
Thank you, Councillor Pugh. Councillor Bayford, would you like to speak?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I mean, I can understand Ramsgate being upset about this in a way, but it's just another example of the parochialism that over the years has held the whole of Thanet back. I mean, we do need to think a bit more about Thanet as a whole. And this particular bid, it's got Margate on it, but surely it's to the benefit of all of our young people, the 16 and 19-year-olds who desperately need a future. And this is actually heading them the right way, you know, towards good, well-paid jobs, to qualifications. And there won't just be Margate kids doing that. They'll be from all over the place, including Ramsgate. And I thought it was, you know, the fact that in the Ramsgate bid, great emphasis is put on how much the people of Ramsgate want opportunities for their young people. Well, here we are. So this is sort of a cooperative bid in many respects rather than an opposing one, I think. And I think it should be seen in that spirit, personally.
Thank you, Councillor Bayford. We have examined this in great detail. I appreciate that the full report was late coming out, but I can assure members that this Cabinet has spent long hours last week and this week, and even at 5:30 this afternoon, examining this bid. And we also gave full consideration to the Ramsgate bid. There was a lot of work that went into that so that we could get it in time on the basis that we were only in control for, I think, 5 days. So to say that we haven't examined either, especially with this bid, I can assure you that we have spent quite a lot of hours on it. I would like to pass over to the Chief Executive, because she can confirm that the question regarding whether the impact, if the Margate Digital bid would have an impact in reducing the Ramsgate bid, was thoroughly examined, and we have been assured by Ian McNabb, who is the chequebook holder for these bids, that an individual bid will be considered under its own merit, and it is entitled, every MP in the country is entitled to put a bid in. So I'd just like to confirm this has nothing to do with his master's voice or his mistress' voice. This is a very exciting project, and I only wish that when I was looking at educating myself when I lived in Margate 30 years ago, that this type of opportunity was around for me, because this is very exciting, and I think the youth will benefit greatly for the whole of Thanet. This isn't just about Margate, it's just the premises happens to be in Margate, and it is an ideal premises to actually launch this fantastic and exciting project. So I'm equally excited for the Ramsgate bid, and obviously we'll be putting our full effort behind both bids, and hopefully we will be successful with both. But I'd like to pass you over to the Chief Executive to confirm that that is the actual case, that one does not affect the other.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, just to confirm that actually I think it's very positive that actually it appears very obvious and quite right that everybody is supportive of this project. And I think, you know, at the end of the day it is a very good bid, along with the Ramsgate one. In respect of the concern that's being raised around whether one bid undermines the other bid, I can confirm that our understanding is, and this has been confirmed by government representatives, that you will all be aware that every constituency is entitled to submit up to one bid. We do have 2 constituencies, 2 MPs, so we are entitled to submit 2 bids. The information we have also received is that it has to be seen in the context of those bids are just competing nationally with all bids that come forward. And at the end of the day, MHCLG will make that decision, but those are the rules of submitting. We're entitled to submit 2 bids. I would just like to take the opportunity to confirm the amount of the bid that's been submitted for the Margate Digital Levelling Up. It is actually a bid for £6.3 million with match funding. That's already been indicated by the East Kent College Group. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Exec. I'd also at this point like to thank the Louise Askew for the work that she's put into this, and also for the Margate Digital team that have also contributed considerably to get this packed together in a short space of time. And the finance team, because they have been having to scrutinise and check numbers for most of the day, I think. They've been working on it so that we can get it here tonight, so that we can get approval, so tomorrow we can move the bid forward. And I really hope that both bids are successful, because it is good to see money coming in from central government into this area. So if you'd like to move.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I move the recommendations.
Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Cupp. Do members agree? Thank you, everybody. That concludes the business for tonight's meeting, and I declare the meeting closed at 7:34.